Do you want to experience the CitizenCon 2954 up close? All the information and if the trip to a CitizenCon is worth it, then you are in the right place. We take you with us to the CitizenCon 2951 in Manchester, show you all the areas, everything to see, and also take you to an exclusive studio tour at CIG Direct. But we also answer some questions. For one, the CitizenCon is perhaps less suitable, what you can expect there and what the disadvantages can be. In addition, we show you all the content of the physical and digital merch packs and whether the pricing for such a ticket is worth it at all. And of course, we also show you one or the other side of a disappointment from a CitizenCon, as it is one of the biggest events in this area and definitely also brings some problems with it. So, welcome in the verse, or the pendant in the event hall in Manchester. Because after a really long queue for all participants, which we will discuss later, we finally made it and can enter the hall with our premium ticket. The rush is great here, and there are some who take the opportunity to queue up as early as possible in the merchandise queue, as there were sometimes waiting times of up to 4 hours to then find out that all the interesting items were sold out. Alternatively, there was the possibility to secure one of the best seats in the huge elevated hall to sit at the very front of the event panels, even if this would have ended with a knee-jerk like in the first row in a cinema. Basically, the entire hall and the facilities should be perceived as a Bengal carrier with various areas such as hangars, living rooms and more. The decoration and the optics were quite pretty, but there was no feeling that you were standing on a Bengal carrier or a spaceship at all, especially since there was no staff with the uniforms or like to be seen. But we are at a CitizenCon, and of course there is more than the hall. There we spend a few hours and of course listen to the panels, but also some interesting exhibits, such as a huge space station, and all the players will probably still know Port Olisar. This area outside of the main hall with some dining rooms and the merchandise shop. And of course, these huge models of well-known structures or ships are always an eye-catcher, although model builders here have come at their own expense. Because in addition to Port Olisar, there was an impressive model of a Retribution class, as well as, of course, a variety of other smaller ship models, which we will of course also show you. The level of detail was unrivaled, especially with the Port Olisar model, and the real masterpiece. Nice stuff. On the other hand, the Retribution class of the UE Navy seemed almost small, although it was a very detailed model that was several meters long. And of course, everything was fan-made, so no exhibits from CIG itself, but from fans who have already performed at some bar citizens here. But of course, there was some more to see, namely in the side hall. Here we had some exhibitors, organizations and other optionals for dive deeper into the verse in the various themed containers. As well as the highlight of this year's con, a nearly life-sized version of an F7A Hornet MK2. And this work of art is remained an art object even in Manchester after the con. Definitely one of the highlights of the CitizenCon 2951 in Manchester. And in order not to make the Hornet look quite static, there was a little goodie, namely a regularly recurring engine sound test, which could also be seen or better heard. But I would say we just leave the acoustics here, even if this was not a professional microphone, it speaks for himself.
Engine test completed.
To offer premium ticket owners a premium experience, there was a premium lounge, so an area behind a blue curtain where you had additional options to sit down. But the hall was usually so overcrowded that seats were absolutely rare. And apart from this additional lounge area, there was nothing else to experience or to see in the premium area. The whole design made a good impression, although we did not feel immersive here, as I said, to be on a Bengal carrier, the spaceship. In the general lounge area there was still a possibility of a bar, additional monitors on which you could also follow the panels, as well as the side view over the hall and also, of course, the Hornet. And with that, we were in all areas of the CitizenCon in Manchester. But these were not only scenery but also a place to record for the various panels and live broadcasts, which were of course also provided to the fans who watched the panels on their screens at home. The conclusion was ultimately the containers, where some organizations were exhibited and in the style of Pyro. Various variants of different ships such as this grandiose Banu Merchantman and other events took place. But let's get to the rather unpleasant parts of a CitizenCon, and especially these in Manchester, namely long waiting times. And these consisted actual for every participant of waiting and standing partly in the rain and mostly several hours. Whether it was possible to secure your package and your boarding pass the day before, or then on the main day where everyone participated for several hours in different rows in a large amusement park waiting to be let into the hall. All through, the mood was basically good, but the waiting time was a challenge, because in general the whole thing did not seem really well throughout. So premium users did not have the opportunity to queue up at any separate queue, but stood outside for several hours just like everyone else. A similar picture took place inside the hall, and you had to decide either to queue up at the merch stand for several hours to get one of the popular Zeus jackets or a Pico, or to reserve a place in the hall as close to time as possible to be able to follow the panels as closely as possible. And if you wanted to go to one of the breaks, visit a toilet or get a coffee, then you could also plan some minutes of waiting time here. But of course, nothing that you would not expect with several thousand people in one hall. But the entry prices with a standard ticket for just under $300 or a premium ticket for almost $400 are no small thing. So let's take a detailed look at the physical goodie packs, in addition to the digital goodie packs which were included in each ticket, which you could either get right the day before or at the first entrance to the CitizenCon. From the outside, the goodies packs only differ in the color of the handle, so one's in camouflage for premium ticket holders and the standard in blue. The bags themselves were therefore identical, but of course the inner values count. Basically, each bag has a small carabinal hook with a rubber CitizenCon logo, so a chic keychain. Exclusively for the premium edition there was a small Star Citizen metal plug-in pin, as well as a signed and packaged card of an F7A Mark II with the signature of Chris Roberts. Although it's still not entirely clear here whether it is a signature or paint, we suspect more of the latter. For both editions there was a metal box with various content. Here we had, for example, a black notebook with a discreet Star Citizen logo, a pen, a sewing patch, a body tattoo with the UEE flare, although I'm not quite sure when I want to wear this body tattoo. There was also an ironing board, and again exclusively for the premium edition, a 10% merch brochure, which was only available on site, so was connected with several hours of waiting time, or you were unlucky and the items were sold out. The highlight was of course the challenge coin with its unique serial number, which was also the number of the giveaway, which was also drawn. Here on the other hand there was a Star Citizen themed PC to win for some Monster Tech gear or VKB gear. In addition, there was also a letter from Mrs. Dooley from the UEE with a small thank you and some ad flyers. In addition, a plan of the hall and of course, very important, the price list for the merch shop, so you still have to stand some hours in the queue. So don't worry if you're not on site, you didn't miss anything you could use in any way in the game itself. And even with the giveaways that CIG held directly at the con, there were no ships and other in-game items. So the goodies pack is a real nice memory, but nothing more. But let's go to the absolute highlight, even if this was of course very limited and we could only participate alone, namely the CIG Studio Tour. Especially since the tour was led by the famous Jared himself. An absolute highlight in my opinion. And since photo or video recordings were only possible in a very limited area and a limited scope, I can only offer you some nice pictures. Basically, you get a feeling on how CIG is working and dealing with the employees. Here we had the impression that the work satisfaction is at a high level. After, the offices are really nicely furnished and the various amenities can be seen. And that was of course the perfect ending of our journey to Manchester for the CitizenCon 2954. But why do you go to a CitizenCon? There can only be one reason. Namely, the community behind Star Citizen, that is, the teammates we are on the road with every day, all those who share our passion, who can still all about likes, bugs, 30Ks and a huge queue to queue up. All those who have been waiting for more than 10 years for the completion of this mammoth project and who believe that Star Citizen will become reality. And of course, you have this energy and this spirit best when you are at a CitizenCon. If this spirit is nothing for you or you are not looking for contact, then I would recommend to experience the CitizenCon at home. Because there you will definitely get the content of the panels, have the best resolution, the best seat and the most pleasant experience. Because in a hall with several thousand people you can take everything with you. You don't have the best seat, you don't have the comfort you might have at home. Therefore our clear conclusion and our recommendation. Do you really want to see the project yourself? Get to know the developers, experience one or the other of your fellow players on site, then go to a CitizenCon. Don't you need that? The clear recommendation is to save at least $1,000 for flights, tickets and hotel overnight stays. Because whether you fly to a CitizenCon or buy ships in the platform and support the project, this remains the same. Because one or the other way, we all want the game as soon as possible and finished. And of course, a special thanks goes out to all colleagues, friends and developers we couldn't meet on site and with whom we had the one or the other good conversation. And of course, a big thank you to the best team in the world, the Around Retirement launch. Thank you guys very much for being there. It was an honor. And with that I say goodbye. Until next time. See you soon and thanks for watching.